Attention, all curious minds, innovators, and trendsetters. It's time to pause, lean in, and get ready for an extraordinary journey as we dive deep into the fascinating realms of life, technology, entertainment, and business. Let's explore, learn, and grow together. Brace yourselves, for the next thrilling episodes of Hipther Talks is about to take off. Counting down from 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And here we go.
Hi everyone, Zoltan here. We're back again. Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to season 4. That's our 4th year already. Thank you so much for all the support, everyone, and I hope you like our new intro. But hey, it's not about us. We're keeping the tradition here. It's all about our guests. So I would like to welcome you to another episode. We have a truly special episode lineup for you to kickstart the year. So we are diving deep into the heart of leadership, what it means to lead in authenticity, how to build trust, foster innovations. And I have here 2 phenomenal guests from Saroca, a company that's redefining leadership development in the iGaming industry and probably beyond that as well, starting 2025. So I'm thrilled to welcome Emily Leeb, CEO of Saroca, and Claire Adamou, hope I pronounced it correctly, VP of Development. So guys, before we dive into the questions, we have this tradition here, which we have been keeping for the last 4 years, that we would like to give the guests of our show to share a few words about themselves in their own words without us reading a bio here. So Emily, you go first.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you, Zoltan, for having us. I'm super excited to be here, and Happy New Year to everyone. Hope that 2025 is off to a rockin' start. So my name is Emily Leeb. I come to you from Vancouver Island, Western Canada. I'm the CEO at Saroca, and I am an executive and leadership coach by trade. Prior to becoming a coach 11 years ago, I worked in iGaming and was on the media production side for a little website known as calvinair.com. And I was on the team that brought that off the ground. And at the time, really created a new medium for what it meant to cover news in iGaming. And so that was my exposure to the iGaming industry. I think this industry either welcomes you in or spits you out. And if it welcomes you in, it's a little bit like Hotel California, where you may leave, but you're never really gone. So I left the industry after having children, with my inability to travel in the capacity that my role required. So I, in some soul searching, did my coach training and realized in that training that, this is what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. So I went on a solopreneur journey for about 7 or 8 years before I was recruited to a startup to build out their coaching platform and their coaching arm of their business. That really gave me an opportunity to see what cultivating a leadership development company in that capacity, in a B2B capacity, looked like, and really gave me the foundation and the inspiration to start Saroca in March of 2023. The idea was to really provide an opportunity for leaders predominantly in high growth tech. So we also work in cybersecurity and in SaaS, and we do a bit of work in healthcare as well, but with a focus on iGaming, to really bring something new to the industry, or maybe something with a bit bigger of a wave than some people are doing, but really provide a first-class B2B offering and service provider in the realm of leadership development. So long story short, Claire and I know each other from back in the day, and 12, maybe 15, going on 15 years or so. And in an inspiration to launch our first leadership development program for the industry, I had reached out to Claire in mid-2023 and asked her if she wanted to become a part of that program. And as usual, we picked up right where we left off, hit it off like a house on fire for the second time in our lives. And this time had really a foundation and a bond over coaching and leadership development. So it was just a natural fit to bring Claire on as VP of Development. And now we're, almost 2 years in. We're launching our second leadership development program for the industry. I think we'll talk about that in a little bit. But that was probably a very long-winded answer to how did I get here and who am I as it relates to leadership and iGaming. So that's a little snippet.
All right. Thank you so much, Claire.
Hi, and thank you for having me. I know I was on earlier this year as well, talking about personal branding. So I'm very happy to be back for my second time on the podcast. So I've been in the industry since 2006. And as Emily mentioned, we go way back. I've been in affiliate marketing almost my entire career in gaming. And I loved the Hotel California sort of an analogy. I always use Marmite. You either love the industry or you hate the industry. And those that love never leave. And those that hate it know very quickly. And I'm coming up 20 years and I absolutely love it. And in my journey through the industry and, my career, I have sort of really wanted to look at the gaps that I faced and my challenges as I kind of grew up, as they say, through the industry, and really wanted to be, either a mentor or a leader or, a support network for others kind of building their career in this industry. And so I went back to school a few years ago, did my coaching qualification. I did some counseling, a basic counseling qualification, and then did my coaching qualifications. And Emily reached out. It was almost perfect timing. I was just finishing up my higher coaching qualification, and Emily was launching Saroca and asked me to join and be part of it. And I'm super proud of sort of where we've come in the last 2 years, and as Emily alluded to, what we're going to be launching for 2025 as well.
All right, thank you so much. Yeah, it's interesting that even in 2024, the year ended with many guests on our podcast that started out around 2006, 2007, which inspired us to create a panel discussion at our PROC conference called the iGaming Spirit, and we're going to talk there about the old days of the industry around 2008, 2010 to 2015, because afterwards things changed. I don't know why, but they did. So my first question would be about the inspiration behind the creation of Saroca, and I have a side question here. What does it mean? Because I'm really curious about that.
Great question. It truly is a name. I will tell you the story. So I had a co-founder at Saroca, and she helped me launch the business essentially, and has since exited. And so in our creation process of, knowing what we wanted to create, some of the premises for our brand and our belief was to be unapologetic, to be strong, and also to be feminine. We're very proud to be a female-owned and run business. And so we started with the word rock, and it was a little too cliche and generic. My co-founder resides in the Southern California area. I lived a year in Mexico and speak Spanish. So we took a Spanish role, and then we went with Roca. What do we think of Roca? Sort of that feminine, but still rock. So of course we did our research, and we found out that in Spain and Portugal there is a company called Roca that produces toilets and sinks, and that which you need in your water closet. We felt like that probably wasn't the affiliation or the association. Should somebody Google us and that be what comes up. So just in an effort to play around with the word Roca, Jessica had suggested, what if we just put a sa in front of it? And it was Saroca. And for us, it just landed immediately. We knew that was our name. To us, it represents feminine rock, is really what it represents to us. However, if you speak Russian or Ukrainian, you may be familiar with the word soroka as the word for the bird, the magpie. That Saroca is spelt with a K. We learned that after, and Claire and I have talked about this before. We're okay with being associated with the magpie. It's a little bit of a controversial bird. It's a bit aggressive. It really likes shiny things, and we can't disagree with any of the above. So that's how the name Saroca came to be. But it truly is a name. And what was your first question? Oh, the inspiration behind kind of starting Saroca. Yeah. Well, what happened was my co-founder and I were working at that startup together that I had shared with you at the time. And we worked really well together. In our first year of business together, working together, her team and my team took that company from 750,000 to 1.7 million in 12 months. And we knew we had something really good together. Working for someone else is always challenging, especially if you have a bit of an entrepreneurial spirit. And right around the end of 2022, the founder of that startup had decided to move and pivot the go-to-market in a different way. That was not resonant for me or for my co-founder at the time. So we decided to leave and to start Saroca on our own and to really capitalize on the relationship and the different unique skill sets that we both had, knowing how well we worked together. And that was the birth of Saroca. And when you are responsible for your own business, obviously sales is at the forefront, and you have to think about what your go-to-market strategy is and who your target market is. And we really lucked out right off the bat because we had been following a lead for a cybersecurity company who wanted to deploy a leadership development program for their underrepresented community as they were just getting ready to go IPO. And they really liked what we were up to and who we were. And they were essentially our first major project. In a way, they kind of gave us our ability to trust us as leaders to take them into the unknown. So iGaming and the gaming industry in general is filled with innovation, filled with creativity, filled with possibility. It's filled with we have no idea where this industry is going to be in 5, let alone 10, 15 years. I see that as incredibly exciting and a really beautiful opportunity. And I really believe that, the best way to predict the future is to create it. And so if we think about creating the future as an industry, we need optimal leaders to powerfully and optimally and what's the word I want to say? Morally almost even guide people into that future, help us shape and create that future. That's really the opportunity we have as leaders within this industry. And so that's my belief, or my commitment is about providing an opportunity for people to be able to bridge their gaps, access their growth edges when it comes to their own leadership development and who they want to be as optimal leaders in the world, in the industry, and equip them to be able to create that future and to guide us optimally into that unknown.
Among the things that I mentioned about the industry's change among the years, you remember that in 2008, 2009 at conferences, your badge did not print your name. It was your nickname on the badge.
Those were the days. Yeah. Those were the days. And you could walk around the conference hall and you pretty much knew everybody at every stand. It was very close-knit and very... just very it still is personal, right? But it's expanded so immensely that I think that's one of the things that has changed for me is how quickly the industry grew. And I know I dropped out for a couple of minutes there, but I think that also, is why these leadership programs are really important, and why personal and professional development is more than just how do I do sales, or how do I, do the tech, or how do I do design? It's so much more than that, because this industry really, we've got a lot to offer, but there's still a lot of growth from the personal side that needs to be taken care of, and people need to be aware of, for themselves and for their business and what they contribute.
Yeah, because back then businesses were it's one of our conference speakers called them millionaires in pajamas, because they weren't serious businesses. They were affiliates doing websites, cashing in a lot of money. But now there are businesses hiring people. Yeah. So hence there's need for leadership.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing that I might add is that I really believe gambling, it's a vice, right? Gambling is a human behavior. We work in what I call a vice industry. Makeup is very similar, alcohol, nicotine, where I live, cannabis is legal. All of these things are human behaviors that help us passively deal with our stress, our anxiety. It can even be for fun and for recreation, right? But we know with any one of these vices, there's an extreme to them, right? A little bit of alcohol use here and there is not a problem. Too much and you'll die, right? Where any one of these things, online shopping is another vice, if you will. So for me, I don't think there's anything wrong with a good vice, right? I'm a champion for the vice, so long as there is some awareness around it, right? Don't let it run your show. As long as you're running the show, right? Be human, just be aware. So, given we're a vice industry, I believe it is even more important that we have optimal, authentic, and sound, grounded, healthy leaders steering the ship of the direction where this industry is going.
All right, so let's talk about the leadership program Legacy, because it was launched last year, 2024, and it was clearly a huge success. We also covered it on our news outlets. So can you share more about what made it such a game changer for the participants?
Yeah, absolutely. So here's the one thing we get feedback around our program. So beyond just the leadership development program for the industry, when we deploy programs like this inside of businesses, we will often hear, it's nothing like what I expected. And I believe that that's because we are taking a very personal approach to very practical situations in your career and in your life. We give really clear and practical tools. Our job is to help you think differently. So we cover a wide range of topics and tools that give you the ability to shift the way you think about things. And I say that, we teach and coach a lot around distinctions, because distinctions help us distinguish our behavior. And if we want to do things we've never done or accomplish things we've never accomplished before, our behavior is probably going to need to shift from whatever it's been in the past up until that point that's generated the current results, right? So in order for us to be able to get there in the future, we need to be able to equip ourselves in a different way. So a distinction, for example, might be one of the things we teach is, are you operating from agreements or expectations? Okay, in the workplace, do you have a culture of agreements or expectations? Expectations are one-sided, they lack documentation, their deliverables are ambiguous. When we operate from agreements, all parties have bought in. There's a clear what by when. There's accountability. There's probably some form of documentation. So that's a distinction, right? Agreements versus expectations. That helps you distinguish your behavior. Am I operating from agreements or from expectations, right? So we do these things, but we take a very there's what makes it unique is there's a very high level of emotional intelligence training. Like, you will not come away from working with us and not be a more self-aware human. I put my money on that, guaranteed. So in addition to cultivating your own self-awareness, what I call really optimizing your relationship with yourself, we're also deploying and giving you very practical tools that with courage, you can go implement them in your life, work, and relationships, and you will see a significant transformation.
All right. So, Claire, we read in your press release last year that there was an incredible result, 46% increase in confidence, 39% decrease in imposter syndrome right after your program. So what do you think was the secret ingredient behind these transformations?
I think, just to reiterate what Emily mentioned, is the way that we teach the distinctions. It's all of the kind of the tools that we have. And we use that in a way where, our sessions are 90 minutes that we run with our groups. And so it's not 90 minutes. Someone said to me the other day, how can people concentrate on you talking for 90 minutes? I love you, but 90 minutes of solid talking? It's not. We run through the content, the tools. This is where we give you the information. We can give you examples, which is what makes Emily and I different as coaches in this industry, is because both of us have industry knowledge, industry experience. And that's what enables us to relate the tools and the content to your job, to the industry, to what you've been going through or what you're going through now. And then what we do is we put people into mini groups, we call them breakout groups, and they discuss it. They relate that content to themselves, and they have an open and honest conversation with whoever they're paired with in that little breakout group. And it's really made such a difference where you reflect on that information and those tools, and how can I use this, or what place do I come from? Like Emily mentioned as well, which place do I show up? Agreements or expectations, and how can I make a change to better my career or to better communicate? So it's really a mixture of that content and then the discussion around it. And what we do with our program as well, we offer one-on-one coaching. So it is the group coaching, and we offer standalone coaching that runs alongside that as well. And that's really been invaluable to so many of our participants as well, because, they're free to talk openly, confidentially with us, and really work on the things that we discuss in our group settings. And it's made a huge difference for everybody.
All right. So as the Greek saying goes, when you were going, I was already coming back. So basically, you guys already walked that road. So you teach from experience.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and
All right.
I think one of the philosophies of coaching that I really believe is, we can only take our clients as deep as we're willing to go, right? And oftentimes what happens when we need to provide feedback, or we want to digest a trauma, or, we want to, move through something. Often what addressing those issues or situations elicits is a form of discomfort in the body, right? So part of our job as coaches is to regulate our own systems to the ability where we can hold a powerful space for our participant to be in whatever state they're naturally in. That could be chaos, that could be devastation, that could be elation and celebration, whatever it is. Our job is to hold that space, right? Our job is to be committed to what our clients are committed to. Our job is not to be right or wrong. Our job is to ask powerful questions, to offer insight, to offer distinctions and tools, but really at the end of the day, to hold that powerful space. And the only way we can do that is when we've addressed our need or desire to want to feel more comfortable, or to address some discomfort that we might be having. So, and that's really what's important about, when you work with a coach, is like work with a powerful coach, right? Work with somebody that knows what they're doing, because the coaching industry is the wild, wild west. And there's a lot of coaches out there that are probably not providing a lot of value. So, obviously you have a resource in Saroca, but anyone that's looking at coaching or working with a coach, like, you should know that you're working with somebody that understands what it means to hold a very powerful space for you.
All right. It's no doubt that we are covering at least 4 coaching programs out of the thousands. But it's interesting to see that all 4 of you guys are right there, also focusing on the softer skills, which is not found on all levels at all coaches, which is awesome. And this is what I've read from the news, that you guys also focused on the emotional resilience and executive presence. So how did you approach teaching these softer skills, and which are vital leadership skills?
I'll let you take that one.
Yeah. So EQ and executive presence, that's what you said?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So we start every single training that we ever do with anybody. We always start with emotional intelligence. And the premise is to wake people up to that emotions are universal. And they are not only universal in human beings, they're also universal in plants and animals. So all sentient beings, anything that can feel something, experiences emotion. And it's natural to experience an array of emotion, all of them, from anger to sadness to joy to frustration to, this is just part of our human experience, part of our sentient experience, if you're a plant or an animal. And so when we understand that, it normalizes the feelings that we have in any given moment. But even more to that, emotional intelligence is the understanding that that emotion in that moment is fleeting. It's not going to stay with you forever, right? So it's about being with that emotion and having the tools to let it pass through you, knowing that it doesn't define you and it's not permanent. But here's the interesting thing that I think is one of the beautiful distinctions when we teach emotional intelligence, and where I think it's, predominantly groundbreaking, if you will, is because the difference between humans, say, than the plants and the animals, is the human beings, we make up all kinds of stories about our emotional experience. And sometimes we hang on to those stories long after the emotion has fleeted. And this is where people have grudges, or they lack, forgiveness in their relationships, or there's just like here's an example. I saw a video the other day, and it was about when people piss us off, right? So I experience anger, I'm pissed off, but say I'm hanging on to the anger, I'm hanging on to what I call the story. And imagine every time you hang on to a story, you picked up a 5-pound weight, right? By the time you're in your midlife, you ain't going to be able to walk. You're carrying so much weight. You got so much baggage. You're so weighed down, right? So emotional intelligence is about, and letting go of that story is about putting down those weights, so to speak. So starting with emotional intelligence training and allowing people the ability to identify their emotional experience versus the story can allow people that already right there, that distinction will change the way they start interacting with their own emotions, let alone the capacity to be with other people's emotions, right? And if you want to link that to executive presence, our ability to do that is to be able to, in the moment, in those times of leadership, in a meeting, it doesn't, whether there's eyes on you or not, it's about being able to stay grounded in the face of what we're committed to. Right. And what I said earlier, that ability as a leader to be able to lead people into the unknown, to lead people into the future, and cultivating their ability to trust you to do so. Like that's what's possible, and that's what we're committed to. And then the nuance of executive presence, I think, has a lot to do with trust in the domain of logic. Well, trust, period. And when we teach trust, we look at it through different domains. One of them is logic. So executive presence is also the ability to communicate from a place of logic, which means your ideas make sense and you communicate them in a way that allows other people to be excited about and get enrolled in your beliefs and your mission and your vision, whatever it is, right? Part of executive presence is to rally people and get them to see what you see in light of leading them into the future. Is that kind of tracking? Give you a little insight into sort of, what we might discuss in some of these sessions?
Yeah, sure thing. I'm excited. I'm hopeful that in 2025, this soft skill is going to be something that is going to be changed, because soft but vital. This is something that you don't find in every human being. That's why some of the natural born leaders out there have this skill and they use it well. But I'm excited about you guys having a new transformational leadership program this year, which includes an all-gender cohort. So what prompted the expansion to include this?
Great question. Claire, do you want to answer?
Yeah. So we always thought that we would expand the program. We came in last year, or this year, it depends when you listen, 2024, we came in last year with leadership because Emily and I are women, and it was passionate to us. We really wanted to bring something back to the women in the industry. And so that's where we wanted to start. We wanted to have our flagship program launched for the women, to show them what we could deliver and who we are as coaches. We received, as you know, some incredible feedback, some incredible results from the participants. And some of the feedback we received was the men need this also. This isn't just for women. It is all gender. The skills are used by men and women. There's no differentiation between the skills. Maybe how it lands is different, perhaps. I don't know, their interpretation or any of the baggage that Emily mentioned. Baggage comes in different forms, no matter, it could be your age or your gender, it could be your religion, your race, it doesn't matter. We all have the stories and situations that have happened to us. And so we really thought, actually, let's open it up this year and really make it for all genders, because we do believe in the program. We think the content is incredible, and that's not just us blowing smoke onto the program. That is from all of the participants. And if you look at any single one of the participants, they've done nothing but talk about how much they've, got out of the leadership from 2024 and how much it has changed their ability to lead, and also change some of their careers. They've gone on to do some incredible things in the second half of this year, which we're really proud of as well.
All right, so no worries. People until March will be saying 2024 until they get used to it, that it's a new year. So I'm hoping that our audience now is very curious about your program in terms of the modules that you guys have. So can you walk us through the structure of the program and the 8 modules? And are there any new topics you're especially excited about introducing this year?
Yeah, well, I just want to add on one thing that Claire said in relation to the curriculum and what we'll take you through in a moment, is that, when we first designed the leadership development program to be for women only, was because something really beautiful happens when women come together in group, especially under the premise of learning. And something also really powerful happens for men. So I understand. I haven't actually been a part of any all male men's groups or circles, if you will, for obvious reasons, I hope. But what we wanted to do was preserve the opportunity for women to still learn in a group of women only, but that we also wanted to be able to open it up for any and everybody, because these tools are not exclusive to women, right? These tools are transformational leadership tools that I have cultivated and learned and deployed over not only 11 years of me doing this work myself, but 40 years watching my father in this exact industry, providing a B2B service in the realm of transformational leadership. So we have, the program is 100% virtual. It caters to the time zones in North America and Europe. Perhaps we will expand to the other regions in 2026. We'll see. But the time zones for the cohorts are North American and European based. The program runs for 4 months. From February until the end of April. There are 8 90-minute all virtual modules. So where you log onto Zoom and you're in a Zoom room with your fellow participants, your cohort members. And then each group session, again, is 90 minutes. We cover 8 modules. I'll go through the curriculum here with you real quick. So we have leadership as an inside job. This is where we start with the emotional intelligence training. We then move into obstacles to opportunities. This is about cultivating a growth mindset. What is a growth mindset? We look at the distinction between your inner leader versus your inner critic. This is also where we take a deep dive into imposter syndrome. What it is, how do we work with it? And then we get into saying no like a leader, which is mitigating stress and burnout. How do we give and receive feedback? We teach a distinction called the counter offer, which I really believe is one of the most underutilized tools in business to preserve our capacity and maintain our trust in our relationships when it comes to our deliverables. We talk then in session 4 is called Talk is Cheap. So here the session is all about your word, staying true to your word. We look at our 6 domains of trust and the ability to be able to address breakdowns in trust and more rapidly repair the trust in our relationships. Session 5 is Chaos to Clarity. Here we talk about the drama triangle. So this is a method of how human beings typically deal inside of dysfunction. And so we do a deep dive into that, and we do the antidote to the drama triangle, which is what we call the conscious triangle. Session 6 is all about DEIB. So it's all about belonging. It's about diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace, addressing our unconscious bias, what it means to cultivate psychological safety in our culture. Session 7 is called Taking Up Space. So this is a lot about executive presence. It's about the ability to be seen. It's about the ability to have really straightforward conversations, but also doing that with a high level of personal care, preserving the empathy in our culture. And then we finish it off. Session 8 is called the marathon, and we talk about 2 really powerful distinctions. One is the circumstantial drift, which is that anytime we're in touch with possibility and then we go back out into the world, we'll often find that we can more easily drift away from what we were once in touch with was possible. And so it's about how to stay committed, how to stay in touch with that possibility. And then we finish it off with some learning around cognitive dissonance. So cognitive dissonance is like when I know the right thing to do and I choose not to do it anyways, and the ability to not make that choice and to be responsible for our cognitive dissonance, largely for what we talked about earlier, which was that the need or desire to want to maintain our sense of comfort, right? So what does it mean to endure a little bit of discomfort and have the powerful conversations needed? And then combined with our 8 90-minute virtual modules, each participant receives some one-on-one sessions that I believe Claire mentioned earlier. So this is where we really create a bespoke experience for our participants. So the training and education, you could say, is what's happening in the group sessions. And then really what's up for someone as an individual is what we can address in our one-on-ones. And we find the combination of those two things is really what creates the most powerful impact.
All right. So does this impact remain an impact for both women and mixed gender cohorts? That is my next question. So how do you ensure that this program still remains impactful for both categories?
I think we have to look at the results that we have created, not only for last year with the women in our leadership program, but if you look at our track record with our B2B programs, our leadership development programs inside some gaming organizations, also cybersecurity. There's a SaaS company in New Zealand. We have over an average of an 87 NPS in our programs across the board. We also now have the ability to track people that have gone through our training and what their promotion levels have been like, particularly with one client where we've been deploying leadership development programs for the last year and a half. I can pull up some of those stats if you want to know what some of those promotion rates. Why not, right? So this is after the second program. This is a cybersecurity company that we started working with right when we first came out the gate. I think I might have mentioned that. And we've now taken over 100 people through the program. A lot of the content from the Transformational Leadership Program, there is definitely a lot of similar content that we cover. All of the programs that we do are customized. So given we're both essentially leadership development programs, there are some sort of what we call heavy hitter distinctions that are themed across the board. So after the first program, again, this is all gender cohort. This cybersecurity company after this program, I won't say it was all because of us, but coincidentally, that in our time working with them, they had a successful IPO on the New York Stock Exchange. The stock is climbing. We just finished our largest cohort with them, and we'll be launching another one in the new year. So this was after the second program. NPS on this one was a 90. Improvements in all areas of focus. 40% increase in leadership confidence, 19% increase in sense of community, 14% increase in their ability to advocate for themselves, 35% increase in their ability to deliver feedback. During the 6 months post-program analysis, it was a comparison to a similar control group where they found that those that participated in our program were 28% more likely to see positive changes in their annual performance review, and 14% were more likely to be promoted. 67% of the women in the program saw an improvement in their annual performance review scores. So 28% overall and 67% in the women. The people that participated in the program were 49% more likely to see changes in their review, and 45% more likely to be promoted compared to the control group, which was 50% of an underrepresented community in the program that got promoted. So across all cohorts, 7 of 24 participants got promoted in the first 6 months. And that was both men and women. So
congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. And now it'll be fun to do this analysis again. And if you, Zoltan, or anyone of your listeners is interested, we always do an impact report, and with our clients' permission, we can redact the name if we need to, but we're always happy to share our proof of concepts. We understand that when people are investing in their own development or the development of their team, they're investing in an experience. And that can be risky because you don't know what you're investing in. So let us show you. You know, we often will say, let us do a little pilot program or a pilot project first, maybe even like a 1-hour session, and get kind of people's feet wet and get them exposed to what we're able to do. But we really stand behind the results that we create. And if anybody wants a deeper dive into that, we're always happy to provide any information that we can.
All right. So let's also talk about radical candor. So who could explain or elaborate this concept, and why is it important in the context of leadership?
Yeah, I'll take a start on this, and Em, if I miss anything, you fill in the blanks.
No problem. Just give credit to Kim Scott. That's all I request.
Yeah, exactly. So it is based on a book, and I am reading it. Funnily enough, reading the entire thing because I know the concept, but I wanted to read everything, so I have it upstairs actually. But it's basically Radical Candor is about having difficult conversations. It's about looking at. Shall I give the example, Em, where the example that we use within the program, and the main example that comes out of the book is how Kim had an employee that had great, he was liked by everybody. He had great energy, always showed up, made the team feel good, but his work was just not that great. It was just not up to par. He was, making mistakes. Other people were carrying him or fixing the mistakes that he was making, but everybody just loved him. He was just this good, fun guy that everybody loved to be around. And so as his manager, she did not say anything to him and just kind of, picked up after him and fixed everything because he was a great team player. 2 years go, I think 18 months, 2 years go by, and kind of as a business, we cannot carry somebody that, is underperforming continuously. No matter how much we like him as a person, we can't carry him anymore. And so they took him into HR and said, unfortunately, we no longer have a place for you. Your work is just substandard. And his response was, why did nobody tell me? Why did no one tell me that, over the last 2 years, you've had all of this opportunity and all of these times where I've made mistakes or I've under-delivered. Nobody said a word or gave me a chance to make it better. And so the book came sort of sparked from that is, had she have had that difficult conversation at the start, it would have changed the way that he would show up to work, the way that the work would be delivered, or at least give him the opportunity. So now he's had a wasted opportunity because there was no uncomfortable conversation to talk about where things could be better. And I think that's really interesting as a leader. I think it's really interesting as a manager. It's definitely something, some people are great at having uncomfortable conversations, and there's certainly a way of having those in the delivery of those as well. We all know, I'm sure lots of people have had really bad managers. I certainly have, not in this, I've been quite fortunate in this industry, but I've had a really bad manager before and it made me leave. People don't necessarily just leave the companies, they leave bad managers and they leave bad leaders. And so the concept of Radical Candor is about leveling up our communication and the way that we are able to deal with those situations and really help guide and improve things even when it's uncomfortable.
All right, that's very interesting. It's good to hear. Hopefully our audience will start looking up the book now. So you guys emphasize on that leadership isn't about hierarchy, but it's about transformation. So can you unpack this philosophy for us?
So here's the thing. Hierarchy is needed when it comes to decision making, to the guardrails that need to be up. But we really look at leadership is the ability to lead ourselves, right? So there's a distinction between who we are if we're managing people, right? If I'm a people manager or I'm a leader, versus if I'm an individual contributor, I still have the opportunity to be a leader. I'm leading myself every day. I lead the way that I show up in my conversations. I lead, my own time management and capacity and my ability to ask questions or clearly identify what success looks like. So, hierarchy is, when I look at the workplace, is usually related to some form of control, even in that, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But I think that, again, we don't necessarily want to control. We want to enroll. We want to have clear ideas of what success looks like. We want to be able to enroll the people that we work with in what success looks like. I identify clearly how they can support making that happen from their role and what they have in place. So, I wouldn't necessarily say that hierarchy, it depends on how you're relating to the word, because yes, it's needed. Seniority maybe is a reframe that I might prefer over hierarchy. When I think about hierarchy and I think about radical candor, so to further link these two, what Kim Scott does in Radical Candor, she has this 2x2, right? It's a scale of, in your communication, caring personally is the vertical line, to challenging directly is the horizontal line. When there's a low level of personal care, but a high level of challenge, she calls that obnoxious aggression. And in my experience, hierarchy often lives in a domain of more obnoxious aggression or negative motivation, right? An autocratic leadership style. Listen, there may be some environments where that's necessary but where that is simply the default form of leadership, or where hierarchy is just the default form of like a company's structure, that's where I think you need to question, what's the level of empathy inside of your culture? How human-centered are your leaders? Are you putting, people before profits? And if you're not, that's fine. Just own what you're doing and make sure the people that work for you, that's clear and that's transparent. And what I think is really possible is really coming from a place of transformational leadership, which is being committed to possibility, right? It's about deploying a growth mindset. It's about creating an environment for your employees where they get to come every day to express their brilliance and their genius in the world. And when we come from a place of control or hierarchy, or, what I might just bottom line deduce or be perceived as ego kind of running the show, that's what I think there's an opportunity to question. And we can pivot from what might be a more autocratic leadership style in that hierarchy to a more transformational leadership style, which is committed to empathy and possibility and creativity and innovation and diversity and inclusion and belonging. And again, cultivating those environments where people are excited to come to work, because it's I get to come to work and be the best professional and exercise my skill and my challenge, but do something that I enjoy and be part of something bigger. That's the opportunity we have. And I think that's what I'm committed to supporting leaders to creating inside of their cultures.
All right. So what about high pressure and resisting to high pressure? Because as we know, iGaming is a fast-paced industry and it also has high pressure upon leaders, upon everybody in a company. So what unique challenges does this present for leadership development?
So I look at it through the lens of what we call zones of flow. So there's an author named Gay Hendricks, and he wrote a book called The Big Leap. He's wrote a few books, but in the book, The Big Leap, he talks about 4 zones of flow. So there's the zone of incompetence, which is the stuff that you're not good at and you don't like it. There's the zone of competence, which is the stuff that you're good at, but you don't really enjoy doing it. Then you've got the zone of excellence, which is the stuff that you're good at and you enjoy doing it. And then ideally, there's the zone of genius. And this is what I'm saying. We have an opportunity to create environments where people can come and cultivate their zone of genius, which is they're good at what they do, they enjoy doing it, and there's a healthy dose of friction and challenge that keeps them engaged and growing. So when it comes to resisting high pressure environments, I don't think we should resist high pressure environments. I think we should cultivate optimal high pressure environments that allow people to cultivate their zone of genius. But here's where we have to be responsible as leaders in ourselves and in our teams. Because if you have people operating predominantly, so they're spending the majority of their time in their zone of incompetence or competence, they will not get as much done. They will procrastinate. They will resist coming to work. They will be a disengaged employee. And essentially, it's this concept of right person, right roles, right? So we need to be able to pivot or adjust job descriptions. And I'm not saying that nobody should have stuff in their competence or incompetence. We all have stuff in our roles, like maybe you hate email or you hate Slack or whatever, but you need to do those things, right? Those don't take up, hopefully, the majority of your time. Hopefully the majority of your time is spent cultivating your zone of genius or at least operating in excellence. So when you talk about high pressure environments, it's important that we have people that are in their excellence and genius, because when we operate in those realms, we can do more. We are more energized. We have more capacity. We're more engaged. We're more excited. You think about like when people say, oh, how do they get done what they can do in a day? We all have the same 24 hours. Well, people that get a lot of shit done, it's because they're operating predominantly in their zone of genius. We drag our feet. We procrastinate. We get ourselves distracted. We avoid, we do all kinds of things if we're operating predominantly in incompetence or competence. So that's where I think what we need to pay attention to inside of our sort of high-paced, fast-paced culture and industry is making sure we've got right people, right roles so that they can withstand and produce more.
Yeah, people keep asking me why I don't read books. This is why, because I have 50 episodes per year. And everybody keeps telling me about books. So I got a resume about every book that they read. So I don't need to read them. So
I love this. Yeah. It's fun.
That's the perks of having a podcast. So how do your programs foster trust, inclusivity, and resilience and qualities that seem to be at the heart of what Saroca offers?
Beautiful. We've been told that our company has a lot of soul. And I take that as a total compliment. Okay, as facilitators, there's something that we do when we work with teams, right? So like consider that Claire and I were coaches, but we're also facilitators. Like we're teachers in a way, we're educators in a way, because a lot of what we do is learning and development paired with coaching, right? Two different things. So one of the things we do as facilitators is we cultivate to the very best of our ability, very intentionally, and maybe almost a little overkill, we create really tight, confidential containers within which our programs occur. So what that means is every participant, when you come into say your company is paying for you to do a program with us, you're now in a cohort of 8 people inside of your organization. And, we're meeting for the first time and we're going to talk about some of these soft skills and these tools. And you're kind of like, what are we doing here? We really get clear on the rules of engagement that we expect of you and that we invite you to when you participate in our program. So I really believe change happens in a container. Whenever we go through something, there's usually a beginning, a middle, and an end, right? And that's what we endeavor to create with our programs. And that inside of that container, there are very clear rules of engagement. And the very first one is confidentiality. So we don't record our sessions. Everybody has to agree in person. We do an orientation video before we even gather live, where we're letting them know that this is what we can expect. We reiterate those commitments when we gather in person or virtually. And so I think one of the ways that we foster trust is because we are rigorous in our ability to create a tight container with what's expected from our participants in our program. And then I think furthermore, the work speaks for itself. Once you're in that container, we're having conversations like we've been having today. We're covering topics like we've been having today. We may be going a little bit deeper, or we're talking about how those distinctions are specific to your experience in your company, or in your relationships, or in your role, whatever it is. But I think that the trust then comes almost naturally because people start to see that we have a high level of logic in what we're teaching and how we teach it, and what's expected of people in terms of how they create value for themselves out of participating.
Probably our audience is now wondering how much these programs cost, because they do need to somehow provide you vitamins to have such energy, because that's something that I value now after. We've been talking about 45 minutes already, and you're still passionate about what you do, which is good. Go ahead.
I said that will never die. This is where they say, you're in the right role if you could talk about what you do for 8 hours. I hope it's pretty obvious. At least I feel like I'm in the right. I feel like I'm aligned. I'm in the right role. I'm doing something that's authentic for sure.
So the Transformational Leadership Program also offers scholarships, right, for to ensure accessibility. So why was this a key focus for Saroca, and how do you measure the success of your programs, both for individual participants and for the industry as a whole?
Beautiful. So yes, we do offer scholarships for those that might be more under-resourced in their ability to attend. So perhaps they can't get budget approval from their company or from their manager, or they don't have the means to invest out of pocket. It's a really reasonable rate for a 4-month program, and the value that you create, it's $1,700 US. And what I'm going to do, Zoltan, for your listeners is we'll give everyone a 15% discount code. We can do like a hashtag Hipther 15. We'll put it in whatever documentation you've got going. But for any listeners that are listening to this podcast, we'll give you guys a 15% discount. All of the information can be found at saroca.co/programs. And the link to apply for the scholarship is also there. The scholarships came about because we had a partnership with All in Diversity, who is measuring equity across the iGaming industry. And that was co-founded by Christina Rankinthor and Kelly Keane. And in 2017-18, Kelly Keane had come to work with me one-on-one as a coach. And she had essentially birthed the idea for the All in Diversity project as a result of our coaching, if you will. And so in a beautiful partnership with All In, they decided to sponsor a spot in the program as a means to, again, further contribute to equity across the industry. The IGB Ascend program also provided a scholarship, and us as Saroca, we also provided one. So we had 3 individuals came through the program on a scholarship basis, and we tracked, we've got their results in addition to everyone else's, so we can we can separate and then aggregate those out in terms of what was created. In fact, one of our scholarship winners was one of your guests last year, Tara Alvarez Garcia, and out of participating in the leadership program, she actually decided to leave Play and go do her coach training, and now is off on this. So look at the ripple effect of what happens when we get in touch with possibility and who we are, what we're committed to, our leadership skills, all of that. So. And then, so that's the means for the scholarship. You had asked a second question there.
About how do you measure the success of your program?
Right.
And I can already say that you are successful because we already had a guest now that has joined the program and already are on their way.
Right. So we measure the program through a means of self-assessment. We call it a Kaizen tracker. Kaizen is Japanese. It stands for change for good. And we use this tracker amidst all of our programs, and we can customize what we track. So some examples that we're tracking in transformational leadership are the ability to give and receive feedback, what their experience with imposter syndrome is like. Are they confident in their leadership skills? those kinds of things. So it's through a self-assessment survey, and we track on essentially a bi-monthly basis. So there's a benchmark at the beginning of the program. Then our participants are tracking throughout those same domains and categories. And then, of course, we've got a cutoff date at the end of that container when we close the program. They submit their tracker, and we do a self-assessment survey on their own, basically their own growth via self-assessment tool.
All right. So my next question would be for the VP of development, because this is the stupid question I keep asking, this 5-year thing. But I don't know, it's a default thing that everybody's asking. It's always 5 years. So where do you see Saroca Leadership Program going in the next 5 years?
Love this question. So as we mentioned, we've rebranded to do the transformational leadership. So it's, women only, and the cohort, the all gender cohort group as well. We have toyed with doing it twice a year. So doing a twice a year intake. We're going to see, I think, and we'll see how this year goes, and potentially doing sort of a spring and an autumn intake, maybe for 2026. We also have some really strong collaborations within the industry as well. So we do quite a lot of work with SBC, quite a lot of work with IGB, potentially G2E this coming year. So we're really making some strong, we have some strong partnerships already in place where we can bring some of the work that we do to the conferences as well. And I know that there may be an announcement with Hipther for early next year that we can announce as well. Potentially, just going to drop that little, drop a mic. There might be some announcement coming. So we really do think, the purpose of what we're doing with the transformational leadership is going to grow substantially. But we really hope that once more people start coming through the program, really it's going to be seen by the bigger companies, right? The people that are growing quickly, are expanding quickly, are fast tracking people through the management program without necessarily some of the skills. They know exactly how to do their job, but it's those personal skills that they potentially are lacking because there's no training. We're not trained for how to lead people and be great communicators in school. We're not trained on that. We're trained on how to be an affiliate manager, how to be a graphic designer, how to be a coder. We're not there's no more training on how to be everything else that it takes to be a fantastic leader and manage a really great team. So, I'm really excited to see where we can go. But I know the industry still has so much to be done. But with our strong collaborations, I'm sure that we'll just go from strength to strength.
All right. So talking about collaborations, like you teased now our audience, which leads me to my next question, because as you know, we're not 100% iGaming industry. We have been 100% iGaming industry, but now we're just 50% iGaming industry because we cover blockchain, artificial intelligence, fintech, virtual reality, everything. And we are all bringing them together under one roof at our conferences and at some of our media outlets. So how do you guys foresee expanding to other industries? Or are you guys just focused on remaining in the iGaming industry?
Well, we do have multiple verticals right now that I think I mentioned are all really could fall, well, maybe not all, but, high growth tech. So cybersecurity, SaaS. We have a couple clients in the healthcare realm, and then of course iGaming. So I think for us, because Claire and I have iGaming backgrounds, we're passionate about the industry. We love the industry. We see the opportunity to serve the industry. We know that providing, as Claire mentioned, leadership development from a place with an iGaming background, with an understanding of the nuance of the industry, and can nobody has to explain to us what the difference between, an aggregator and a game studio is, or, the nuance of the industry. I think people really appreciate that we understand that. So I think for us, when we look at, we have not at all yet made our mark on the industry, the iGaming industry, the way we would like. We could certainly see ourselves continuing to grow in the cybersecurity industry, in healthcare, and really anything else in that kind of high growth SaaS, area, because that's our background, that's our experience. And so, yeah, I mean, I think the iGaming industry is really like conference heavy and focused. And so part of my preliminary research these days has been, what's the climate of cybersecurity like in the conference space? Perhaps it's attending more events there, getting more speaking gigs at industries where maybe our network isn't as strong. So I think you'll see us dabble in that to, maintain the relationships and the clients that we currently have in those spaces, and perhaps dabbling a little bit outside and how we might broaden our reach within those spaces. But I think that you could probably count on our predominant focus being the iGaming and really even the land-based gaming industry.
All right. So you answered my question without knowing that you guys are probably going to be in the blockchain sphere as well. Because if you're focusing on cybersecurity in health, blockchain is the way to go. There have been the biggest advancement in cybersecurity, and we covered that all throughout the year at our conferences. We even had a collaboration with Europol, where they had a cybersecurity who are fighting actual crime was there. This is something really
good. Well, perhaps you can be a resource for us and do any intro. I will say that there has been 2 conversations in potentially doing a women in fintech leadership development program, very similar to how we launched leadership in 2024. And I have a very close relationship with the producer of the London Blockchain Conference, and so you've planted a seed for me to maybe see if there's some opportunity to get involved in that arena as well. So I appreciate the nudge, Zoltan. Thank you.
Sure thing. That's what we do. So what advice would you guys give to gaming professionals who want to grow as leaders but aren't sure where to start?
Come do the transformational leadership program. You set me up way too well for that one. No, but all joking aside, I mean, absolutely, you could come and work with us. Saroca has over 53 coaches internationally. So when you come and work with us as an individual or as an organization, we are matching the right coaches and facilitators for you based on your business objectives, based on your psychographic and your demographic, and who we believe will best serve you there. So, the beautiful thing about, the important and beautiful thing about, cultivating who you are as a leader is it's about working with someone with which you have a high level of rapport, because you need to be able to have those uncomfortable conversations. You need to be able to sometimes go to a depth that you might not with somebody else inside of a conversation. So whether you're working with Saroca or anyone else, really look for that rapport. I guess to answer your question predominantly, get some support with your growth, engage in your growth. Have somebody in your world that can point out what some of your blind spots are. Ask for feedback from your team. Know what you need to get better at. Know what you need to work on, and then go out and receive the support to get that. And if that means working with a coach or doing some training or development, make sure that you feel resonant with it. Like it should feel like a hell yes inside your body. Maybe some trepidation, okay, I'm going to be challenged. I'm up for some growth. Nobody said growth was comfortable, right? So the idea to engage in your growth, but do it with someone that you have a high level of rapport and where you feel like, oh, I can get messy with this person a little bit. That's safe. That's going to be to my benefit.
All right. That's a great answer. And I'm happy that we also resonate with our I'm going to also do some advertising of our academy that we launched for 2025, which is going to have its test in Prague, where we are going to hand out some certificates for people interested in knowing more about blockchain, AI, fintech, of course, all these European legislations that came into force. And we will have our collaboration, of course, which we will announce very soon. Yes. So for our listeners who are considering joining the program, what would you say to encourage them to take that leap?
Go on.
No.
I was just I think if they're already considering it, then you're already halfway there, right? You know that you want to make a change. You're already thinking about it. just be brave. Be brave. I always think, what's the worst that's going to happen, right? You're going to be a bit uncomfortable. You're going to feel a bit nervous. Maybe you feel shy. You're all in the same boat. Everybody that has showed up to the program has signed up for the same reason. They want to overcome something. They want to be better. They want to show up more confident, having better communication skills, losing that imposter syndrome, being able to push back and say no. Maybe they're on the verge of burnout and they need some help, like reassessing where they're at with their career. Maybe they're ready to take the leap, but don't really know how or why or what they should do. Like, if you're having those thoughts, then you're ready for a coach and you're absolutely ready for the program. And Emily and I have been through this ourselves, in becoming coaches. We have been through all of this training ourselves, and it is and can be uncomfortable, but the growth that comes from it is out of this world.
Yeah. That's good to know. So that just hit that button, because my next question would be about where can our audience find more information about Saroca and how to register to the program. I'm also going to ask you guys if you guys can be approached on social media if people have questions.
Absolutely. So you can find us on LinkedIn, Saroca, or Emily Leeb or Claire Adamou. We would love to hear from you there. We do have a Saroca Instagram account. You can also follow Claire and I on there. I'm Emily Haruko on those social platforms, and Claire is Claire Adamou. You can reach out to us anytime. You can send an email to info@saroca.co. You can find all of the information about the Transformational Leadership Program at saroca.co/programs. The link for registration and also to apply for the scholarships can be found on that page. But please, our door is always open. You can reach out anytime. We would love to hear from you. And just know, don't hesitate in your ability to reach out. We're not hardcore salespeople. We really believe in our work and we let that speak for itself. So our commitment is if doing the program is what's right for you, we absolutely want to support that. If doing the program is not what's right for you right now, that's absolutely okay. And if you don't know if the program is right for you or not, get inside a conversation. I don't know if it's going to be before or after this podcast comes out, but we will be doing another information session in January. So you can come and hang out with us for half an hour, 45 minutes. We'll talk about the program. That will be recorded. The link will be up on the website if you don't have a chance to join us live. But really, we know that investing in the program, it is investing in an experience. And in order for you to get a flavor of what that experience is, you might want to experience who we are inside a conversation. So reach out. We're happy to get on a call. You can stay tuned for the information video that'll be launching early mid-January. And again, info@saroca.co is an easy access way to get a hold of us. So we'd love to hear from you.
All right. And to our audience, don't be shy. We know you are almost 2,000 people downloading our episodes, but never sending us any support messages on Spotify or Apple Podcast or Amazon Music, wherever we are. So make sure to hit that button, send us a message. If you want to send our guest messages throughout us, you can do that too. So as a closing question, remember, guys, that Hipther's code for the 50% discount. We will post that somewhere in this episode. So as a final question, or maybe I would like to just ask you to give some shout outs for the people that supported you guys in 2024, and maybe some shout outs for the new partners for the next year.
Oh, there's so many. Honestly, I feel like the number one for us is all of our women that came through the leadership. They are our biggest supporters. We still have a little WhatsApp group where we're communicating. We meet up at events, and anybody that ever asks them anything, they cannot speak highly enough of what they got out of the program and who Emily and I are as coaches and facilitators. So they would be our biggest champions and our biggest supporters. And we've definitely, I touched on some of the others as the industry conferences and event organizers, SPC have been great to us, IGB, yourself, Zoltan, having us back or having me back again. There's probably plenty of people that I've forgotten.
Yeah, I would say even, we've started a new partnership with Clarion for ICE, where I'll be what's called a DEIB ally and running the DEI strategies and practices session at ICE coming up. We have just formulated a beautiful relationship with Next.io. So stay tuned in New York and Valletta, because Saroca will be doing some workshops and supporting some of their learning and development curriculum at those conferences. I think Naomi at IGB and our commitment to supporting the IGB Ascend program to continue to get off the ground. We're hoping to do some work with Global Gaming Women. We've attended some of their events. We're both Global Gaming Women members. We're hoping to do some future collaboration with them in the future. All of our current clients, some of which we're not allowed to name, but some we can, my affiliates, Rubric, we're doing some work with Comply With right now. Those are some that I can mention. So just thank you to our stakeholders and our clients that believe in us and help us co-create, magic and results for their teams. I'd like to shout out our internal team. So we have an operations manager in San Diego. We've got a growth and marketing manager, Harvey in the Bay Area, Claire's in the UK. I'm here on Vancouver Island. That's our core team. And then we've got our 53 coaches internationally that we can outsource and collaborate with. So big shout out to all of them. And if I forgot anyone, I'm sorry, we love you, but thank you for the opportunity to just to shout them out. And really just a huge thank you, because bringing, something new to the industry can be really scary. And we just want to say thank you, because Saroca has been welcomed with such warm and open arms, and really a testament to the relationships and the network that Claire and I have built over the last, 2 decades, essentially. So just a big thank you to the industry too, for having us back and for welcoming us with open arms and for allowing us to contribute. And thank you to you, Zoltan, for having us. This has been truly epic, and I really appreciate, who you are and you creating some time and space for us.
Of course we do. And thank you so much for joining us and taking time off your busy schedule, because we know how it is. And thank you for our audience for sticking around. We will be back next week with more crazy stuff and all throughout the year for season 4 again. Guys, thank you so much. Take good care.
Thank you as well. Thank you.
And that's a wrap for this section of Hipther Talks. Thank you for being a part of our journey today. Don't forget to tune in next week for more insights and discussions. Stay connected with us on Spotify, YouTube, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, and more. Until then, keep exploring and keep growing. We'll see you next time.